Hello, chefs, and welcome back to my channel. I called you chefs because I know you're just gonna cook on these annotations today. So let's get into it. Reminder, last class, you were writing your first two source annotations. You went through some video notes, filled out what these annotations should look like. Remember, they're not like annotating in a book like we've done. These are annotations to describe your research sources and why they help with your research. If you want to see any of that lesson, of that video again, you can go ahead and tap up here at the top. That little info card should be popping up to take you back to that video. But if you're ready for the new stuff today, well, it's not really that much new. You're just going to continue with writing your annotation paragraphs or bullet point format if you want that. For today, you will be doing your third, fourth, and fifth sources. So that will mean by the end of class today, hopefully you've gotten all of your source annotations written and you will have a full annotated bibliography. Because bibliography is the fact that you gathered the sources, put them onto that Google Doc for a works cited page, and they have now been annotated once you write the annotations. And after this, the following step will just be to kind of move on to some editing and revising next class, and I'll also help you with that when I'm back on the 12th. At the end of class today, or before next class if you need, you're going to be uploading screenshots of those 3 new annotations that you're writing today. So again, refer back to your handout from before, previous notes. I had some examples on your little fill-in-the-blank notes from last time of what these annotations could look like. So if you feel confident about it, go for it. Go ahead and get to work on those. But if you would like to see kind of a demonstration of me going through and writing an actual sample of an annotation, stick around for that. I'll kind of give you some ideas for phrases you might want to use or just kind of what that thought process looks like. And also this sample annotated bibliography that I'm working with is on Blackboard on the topic page if you want to just kind of see an example of everything formatted and done. So if you want to see the demonstration, here I am looking into that. So on my sample document here, I've got my sources filled in. They've been there. Make sure you've got all 5 of your sources. And I did the bullet point format for these annotations, so this one's been done. I did my summary, talked about how it passed the CRAAP test, how it answered the research question, the counterclaims and rebuttals. So I still have one to do for this source. More Than Rhyme Poetry Fundamentals. So when I read this source, I'm going to kind of just summarize now what I took away from it. So you might want to say a phrase like, in this article or in this source, and you could give the author's name if you want to kind of show who said these things. So I'm going to say Maria Mastromatio. That's a fun name. She explains how students might think poetry is just about rhyming, but it's actually so much more, and can be fun to learn about. That's kind of what she was teaching me in this article. I'm going to give an example of kind of some specific things I remember, maybe something that came from my main idea or like the main claim that I put on my source card. You could look back at that on your digital cards. So I'm also going to mention some of the things she talked about. Things like meter, tone, imagery, and real world connections are discussed to show how poetry can come in many forms. So this is just kind of a summary of what the article was. Now for my CRAAP test part, again, you don't have to mention every single letter of the CRAAP test, but maybe there's a couple that you just kind of remember, oh yeah, like I really had to check on this part, or I felt really confident about the currency of it. So maybe just hit on a couple of the key things there. So with this one, you could use a phrase like the source was very relevant, or you could say it was very current, it was very purposeful, whatever part of the CRAAP test you're talking about. It was very relevant since it discussed ways to make poetry fun to learn about, which relates to my research question. And I could also say the purpose of the source, that's the P in CRAAP, the purpose of this source was to inform and give ideas for students and teachers. So in that one, I kind of covered the relevance part and the purpose part of CRAAP test. For answers research question, you could start off with a phrase like, this source helped answer my research question because, and then talk about kind of what specifically you learned from it. Maybe here you look back at the quotes you gathered from your source. Like, what were the specific moments where you were learning something about your research question? So with this one, I'm going to say, because I learned about other elements of poetry besides rhyming, and, I'll say reading this source showed me, what do I want to say, how teachers might solve the issue of lacking poetry by making the lessons fun. So I talked a little bit here about like the solution. This article kind of helped give me the solution aspect of what I was researching. So you could mention how maybe it solves the issue or teaches you more about the problem. And then for the counterclaim and rebuttals part, you may not have this for every single source, but again, it's just something we're kind of trying to be aware of and notice. Definitely your counterclaim source will include this. But I did notice a counterclaim in this article a little bit. One counterclaim I noticed was the author said that students must study poetry every day in order for them to really understand it. And I'm saying this is a counterclaim because a lot of the other research I found was more about, oh no, the students should like do it periodically or in small pieces. This kind of goes against other things I researched. Maybe your counterclaims are something that goes against the solution you were coming up with, or it kind of presents a challenge to the research. But for mine, this was it. So then I could say my rebuttal. Remember, rebuttal is when you kind of push back and say like, nope, this counterclaim does not hold up. My rebuttal would be that, how would I say this? Students might get tired and bored if they have to study poetry so often, and doing it in small lessons periodically is more effective. So here I'm kind of showing that there's a better way to do it. This is more of what the rest of my research has said, so there's the way to do it. And actually, if I wanted to make this even stronger, I should take out where I said I and focus more on just the author. So I could say one counterclaim was the author said students must study poetry. A rebuttal, students might get tired. So just by doing that, you just kind of keep the first person narration out of things. In general, we want to avoid that in these write-ups, in these annotations. It just gives a more kind of professional academic tone and still gets the same point across. And that's the end of my annotation there. I know I kind of talked through it quite a bit, but some of the key phrases that might be helpful, like even these little sentence starters, you can say in this article, or this was relevant because, and it helped answer my research question this way. Those little things can just kind of get you started in the right direction of what to say. So feel free to pull this up too and kind of look at it as a sample as a guide as you're working on your annotations today. All right, that's all I got for you today. Again, this is your task. There'll be a place for you to upload screenshots of the new things you work on today. And then next class, you can expect that you'll be kind of doing some editing, getting your Google Doc together. So good luck to you. Go cook on those annotations. Can't wait to read them and see what you've researched and learned about. And I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.